Hi guys, my name is Kirsty. Welcome back to Upside Down Books. Today I'm so excited because we're going to be talking about my June TBR.
Non più tra I farfalloni amoroso, notte giorno di torno.
Now you all know how much I love my TBRs and I've been really looking forward to this in a different way to usual. This is not going to be a TBR jar video. We are doing something a little bit different for June and perhaps for a few months to come. Basically, if you've been following along and you've seen some of my wrap-ups, you'll know that I've been in a really big chaos reading mood for the last few months. So I've been in the middle of a bunch of books, I've just had my attention turned left, right and center, and I have come out of that mood now. And now I really want to focus on reading one book at a time. I also want to finish off all the books that I'm in the middle of. And because of that, I've decided that the TBR jar game just isn't going to be fun right now, because if I'm picking more books on top of all the other books I want to read, I'm not going to have any time for that. So I'm actually trying to be responsible for once and pick and sort and decide on a TBR that's actually going to work for me. It has also been an exceptionally busy start to the year for me, and I feel like after the first week of June or so, things are going to start calming down, which hopefully means that I'll have a little bit more time to read in longer stints rather than all the short, sharp little moments that I've been stealing away to try and get some reading done. I'm looking forward to things slowing down a bit. So what I wanted to talk about today is how I'm going to be tackling my reading for June, at least June, and probably I would say at least July as well. This is just sort of going to be the things that are on my radar for the next month. I am going to be discussing heaps of books. I'm not going to be reading all of these in June. It's just everything that's there. I don't want to be dictated by a TBR. I'm just not in the mood for that right now. I just want to pick up what I feel like picking up after finishing a book and just remove the constraints, particularly so because I am filming this just before my birthday, but this video will be coming out after my birthday, on my birthday if I'm on time, but you know, if it's not out on the 27th of May, then it didn't make it, guys. Like I said, I've been busy. And I know that usually I get at least one book for my birthday, so there will be other things I want to read as well. And I just really hit this point where I'm like, you know what, I just want to read what I want to read, and that's great because I think having done the TBR jar system so consistently for a long time has meant that I've got to some other books and I'm not just reading like the cream on top of my TBR, so to speak. I am going down and drinking the whole glass of milk too. How's that for an analogy? I hope to just revisit this each month going forwards and see where I'm at, test the temperature, see how I'm feeling, and work out whether I'm ready to go back to the TBR jar, because I just want to get to a point where I don't have so many books on the go that I'm distracted by trying to finish things, and that means I don't get to the TBR jar. It's really frustrating when that happens, so that's what we're trying to avoid. So I think it's okay for me to take a little bit of a break and to sort of recharge my batteries in a different way with reading and to try something new. So as I've got a lot of books to talk about, I think we should just dive right in. So there are basically three main goals, if I remember rightly, that I'm going to be looking at in June, and that is finishing off books I'm in the middle of, reading review copies that I haven't got to, particularly some unsolicited review copies that I'm actually really keen to read, and catching up on old TBRs. There were so many good TBRs this year, and obviously there's at least somewhere between 2 to 3 books per TBR that I didn't get to out of the 6. So I want to look at those books and the ones I haven't got to, and I actually want to try and read these. Let's start with the books I'm in the middle of. The first book is on my Kindle, and that is The Limitless Sky. I have probably mentioned this maybe only in wrap-up vlogs, and The Limitless Sky is a dystopian YA novel, and I've only read the first 12% of it. I had every intention of sort of dipping in and out of it, but because I've just not had enough time to have dipping in and out moments, those moments have been reading my main reads. It's just not progressed and it's stagnating, and I really want to avoid that getting any more stale than it already is. So in June, this is definitely something I'm going to be prioritizing and setting aside some time to get to the end of this one. This will be a short read. It's about a dystopian world where, in fact, I don't really know what it's about. I think it's sort of hard to grasp from the first bit, but there's two characters. One is inside this community and one is outside of it, and the one inside doesn't realize that the world exists in the ways that it does outside of this community, and it's sort of very survival, trying to live, and people have certain roles, and they send out expeditions to try and find other resources, etc, etc. When I finish it, I will give you a much better recap than that, but that is something I'm hoping to knock off pretty swiftly. I am also yay far through The Order of the Phoenix, which I have been reading with Chris, and I am wanting to knock this one off. He's very patiently waiting for me to finish this one before I dive into The Order of the... No, this is The Order of the Phoenix. The Deathly Hallows. No, oh my god, what is Half-Blood Prince? He's very patiently waiting for me to finish this off so that I can dive into the Half-Blood Prince with him, and I know that this will be a really quick read, and this is my favourite book in the series. Believe it or not, I just love it, and I am really looking forward to having time to finishing this because there's something really beautiful about the way Harry Potter is written and just diving back into the magic world. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea at the moment, but I'm still enjoying reading the books, and particularly reading it with Chris as it's his first time reading them. The next book is one I've been really enjoying and kind of am a bit upset that I didn't get to the end of, but it was because I was really trying to shoehorn it into my TBR when I didn't have time, and I think I did a pretty good, made a pretty good effort out of it considering I had no time, and that's Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Laurie Gottlieb. I really should look up how to say her name. This is non-fiction. I am this far through, so I do not have far to go at all. This is a really big book, and I think one of the reasons that I got a bit stuck with this one is that I didn't realise just how many words there are per page. If you can tell from this, it's quite dense in its writing. It's really good, it's really entertaining. I don't know how many things I've been taking away from it. It's not the most helpful self-help book I've actually read. It's more of an entertaining memoir just about, but there are definitely lessons to be learned in here, and I feel like the whole book is building up to one big lesson learnt, but I will see. We'll see when I get to the end of it. Nonetheless, this has been a really great read, and I just am desperate to finish it off and thrilled that I still have started it, so this will be something that I will be finishing off in June. Some of you are going to be thrilled by this next book, and that is A Court of Silver Flames. I have been in the middle of this since this came out. I rushed to the bookstore when it was released and was so keen to read it and to read it before everyone started spoiling me or anything like that on the internet, but it turned out that everyone's actually been really good about it, and I haven't really been spoiled at all for this, which is amazing. So I am about 100 and I'm nearly 200 pages in. That does not look it. That is nearly 200 pages. It's a massive book, and over the last year I have just been ticking off 10 or 20 pages at a time when I feel inclined to pick it up, but I've not really sat down to read it. It's really easy to read being Sarah J Maas, so it's not anywhere near as arduous as you would think it is judging by its size. So I'm hoping to just find an afternoon here and there to just sort of take out chunks of it and finish it off in June, because I'm so done with this being on my bedside table as a currently reading book, and there are very few books. There's probably under 10 in my life that have stuck on my currently reading bedside table for over a year, and they really frustrate me when that happens, because it's usually not because they're a bad book, I just terrible attention span. So yes, I'm so looking forward to finishing this so that I'm up to date on this world. It is the only Sarah J Maas world that I am up to date on. Sarah J Maas is just a work in progress for me to keep up with right now. I have fallen so far behind. And the final book that I need to keep reading is Magician, and you're probably all going, what is this book? You haven't mentioned it. Yes, that would be because I started reading this via audiobook about 18 months ago, and I didn't love the audiobook. It's actually an omnibus, so it's 2 books in one, which is sort of how the Magician series is presented these days. They're quite slim books, 1 and 2. So I will definitely be counting this just as one book. There is a tempted part of me to go in and log the individual books on Goodreads so that I get 2 books instead of 1, but I'm just going to count this as 1. So I have finished book 1, and I am only, I think, at the very beginning of book 2. However, considering that it feels like it's nearly been 2 years since I've read this, I'm tempted to start again, which feels horrific considering how far through I have already come. But this is actually a really good fantasy that I liked the story of, but it was too complex for me to do via audiobook. It was just it was like the fantasy book that made me decide to be really hardcore specific with which books I listen to on audiobook, because I listen to it in the car. So I need books where it's not overly complicated so that I can focus on driving, get distracted, and be able to pick it back up again. Books like this just require 100% attention, and it just means I end up missing out on crucial things and getting confused, and I'm just like, what is going on? So yeah, this is to be decided. I think I might, at the very least, go back to the second book. So this is where book 2 begins. So I think I might reread that bit. Even that feels like such a shame to have to do it. It's dusty, it's been on my bedside for so long. But yeah, I'm hoping that I will enjoy this more reading it as a physical book, and yeah, we'll at least reread from the beginning of the second book through to the end and see how I go. But if I get into it and I'm not picking anything up, then I will start again from the beginning. This is, I think, all I need to say is an epic fantasy with sort of an apprentice, and just lots of stuff goes wrong, and there are big adventures in here and lots of political stuff going on. It's sort of like a more palatable Game of Thrones way less complicated, but like that sort of vibe. So those are all the books that I'm in the middle of, so they will be the first books that I think I'll be tackling more or less in June, because that's really where I'm at. I just want to sit down and finish some books, get them off my bedside table so that I'm not overwhelmed by a tower of books looming over me when I go to bed at night. The next thing I want to look at is TBRs that I haven't finished off. So honestly, this number is way smaller than it has ever been. I've been keeping aside all the books that I picked out for TBRs throughout the year, so for January, February, March, April, and then there's a really big chunk from May because I had a spectacularly large TBR. I'm filming this before May ends, but I don't anticipate I'll read many more books off that TBR, so I'm just going to talk about them, and if I've read any of them by the time June rolls around, that's just bonus, but I don't think I will have. So the first four I want to talk about are the only four I have from throughout the year. That just sounds wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's right. So the first one is the Guernsey and Literary Potato Peel Pie Society, which is by Marianne Schaffer and Annie Barrows. I didn't know this was co-written somehow. This has quite big font. I've seen the movie. It's a very like quaint, cozy historical fiction set during World War I or World War II? World War II. And I just really want to read it. I want to know what this is like in book format, so this is staying on the TBR obviously, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to cycle around to it over the coming months and get that ticked and off the to-be-read shelf. The next one is This Is Where the World Ends by Amy Shang. I've heard a few good reviews from you guys in the comments that this is worth it, so I'm really looking forward to picking this one up. I'm just hoping for good things in this one. It is contemporary, which always has me like slightly less excited just because I never know. I never know how I'm going to feel about contemporaries. I either love them or I'm very lukewarm about them, but nonetheless, this has been on my TBR for so long. If you watch the TBR video when I pulled this out, I think it was something like 6 or 7 years. Something horrific like that, so it will be very satisfying to get it read. The next one is one I'm really, really excited about, and it was a Christmas book from 2021, and that is Letters from Berlin by Tanya Blanchard. I really enjoyed Echoes of War by Tanya Blanchard, and I'm keen to read more of her other stuff. She has quite a few other books that are like similarly themed and named with different cities, so I am hoping for good things when I dive into this one, and just yeah, I'm just really excited. It's set during World War II. It's obviously set in Germany. I actually don't know if the main character is Jewish, but in any case, she and her family are trying to escape from the tight grip of the Third Reich, and she actually accepts the help of a high-level Nazi officer to try and get her out. So I think this is going to be a really interesting story. And the last book I have in this pile is The Vanishing Deep by Astrid Schultz. I've heard lots of good things about this one. I have since read another of Astrid Schultz's books. Ironically, I've read League of Liars, and I'm feeling quite good about her writing, so I'm really hoping that this will also be really exciting. This was written after Four Dead Queens, which was the first book of hers I read, which I was a little bit like so-so about, so I'm hoping that this is just following the trajectory of her writing getting better and better, so we will see, but yes, really keen to read this one. Then we will move on to what's left on the May TBR, which is quite a lot of books, which is unsurprising given how many books were on my TBR, so you can do the maths backward if you want to try and work out which books I have actually got around to in May, but you'll be seeing that video next, so don't panic too much. The first one is the last book in the Ranger's Apprentice series. So keen to finish this series, so this is like great motivation to keep going through the TBRs and try and get around to it. I love Ranger's Apprentice. It is such a great adventure that's just set in the yesteryear, well, more than the yesteryear, in a fantastical world really, and it's just really good, wholesome fiction that I can't say enough good words about. So I'm really, really looking forward to reading this one. I then have My Dear I Wanted to Tell You by Louisa Young. I can't remember what this one's about. I thought this one was about a woman dressing up as a man to get near the front, near her partner, but the blurb is not a blurb on this, so I can't remember what this one's about. However, it is World War II, World War One historical fiction? Gosh, I don't even know. World War One historical fiction, and I'm looking forward to reading it. This was on my May TBR as a challenge that a friend picked out for me, so don't worry Amy, I will be getting around to this one, just not in May. The next one's another Christmas book, and that is Anything But Fine by Tobias Madden. I'm so excited to read this one just because I've seen Tobias posting so much on social media and everyone's really hyped about it. This has really great reviews, so I'm expecting this to be a really great read about a ballet dancer with a broken foot and a lovely gay romance. I cannot wait to sink my teeth into it. The next one is a present from last birthday, and that is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. I'm really keen to dive into this one. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit intimidated by it. I'm anticipating that this is going to be a bit of a slow read. It's quite a tight, it's not floppy at all, book, and the font is small, but I know that Joe Abercrombie is a well-loved and respected fantasy writer, so I cannot wait to read this book and be able to make my own opinion on it. I'm just really excited about it. This one I'm not even going to try to butcher by recapping again, but basically it's like epic historical fiction, fantasy. It's not fantasy. I think I compared it to the Lies of Locke Lamora, but like hopefully better. I'm hoping for like thieves and barbarians and thugs banding together and doing stuff, so we will see. The next one was one I was honestly quite hopeful I would get to in the next few days, but I don't think I'm going to. That is The Music of Bees by Eileen Garvin. Now this one is about sort of a romance. I think we have a man in a wheelchair and we have a woman who has a bee farm, an apiary even, and he can talk to the bees through music. I can't wait to read this and find out how literally he speaks to the bees through music, or whatever it is that he does. I'm very, very curious about this book, so looking forward to understanding more about the story. The next one is honestly just a travesty that I haven't got to, and that is Terrier. This is the oldest book that's been on my TBR for the longest. I've talked about it quite a lot through the duration of May, but I have got some plans to do a buddy read of this with a friend in June, on the caveat that if I didn't get to it in May, that's what we would do. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm definitely looking forward to reading it. I'm just desperate to read this and like read the series and get it off the TBR and experience it, because I know I like Tamora Pierce's writing and it is just ridiculous how long it's been on my TBR. The next one is on my May TBR and it was also previously on another TBR as well. I re-picked it to try and get to it. The poor thing is just not getting read, and that is Dragonblood Ring by Amparo Ortiz. Now this one is the sequel to the Blazeroth games and it is a dragon competition and lots of dragon fun. Amazing book for representation when it comes to disability, gender and race. It's just everything is there. It's a really incredible read in that front. I am so keen to dive in and see where the story goes next, because it could have been left as a standalone book, but then there were things that were left to be explored as well, so I can't wait to see where the adventure takes me. The next one is one that I have heard bad things about since adding it to my TBR, and that is Odolist by Fiona McIntosh. I have been told that there are gaping plot holes in this one that are probably going to maybe lessen how much I love the reading experience. But nonetheless, we all know how much I love Fiona McIntosh, so I'm going into this with an open mind and an open heart, and I'm going to be willing to forgive some plot holes if on the whole the book is enjoyable. I love the cover, like particularly what's going on here makes me feel like it's Atlantis or something like that. I don't know, it's just got good vibes going on. So yeah, I'm hoping for good times, but we'll see. From what I understand from the blurb, we've got a son taking over power when his father dies, as he was the favoured son to take power, and he starts up his own harem, and then one of the women in the harem is trying to escape from it. So I think that's sort of the plot we're going with. The next one doubles up as a review copy that I want to get to, and that's A Family of Strangers by Fiona Lowe. I really want to read more by Fiona Lowe, so I'm looking forward to diving into this one. For May, I had the choice of reading this or A River Enchanted, and I crumbled and definitely picked A River Enchanted over this one. But nonetheless, I'm keen to keep this on the TBR and to read it in the upcoming months, just because I know that it's going to be a good time. I like Fiona Lowe's writing and I think she weaves a story really well, so I am looking forward to this. I believe this is 3 generations of women and there are sort of secrets, and it's all about like how well do you actually know people. So the way Fiona Lowe creates tension in the one book of hers I've read was just like, so I am hoping for good things. The House of Always might also still be on my TBR. In all seriousness, I am hoping that I might actually be able to do like a 24, probably 48-hour readathon, given how chonky these books are, with the next book, whose name I can't remember, and I was looking at it today. It's like House of... no, it's not. It's the Blood of... I don't know what it is. It's the next book, and it has a skull where the octopus would be. And yeah, that's coming out in mid-June, I think. So, yeah, shameful. Shame on me for taking so long to get to this, but you know, it's still on the agenda. It's gonna keep being on the agenda, and this is why I'm taking a break from TBR, so I can get to these damn books that have been haunting my TBR for so long. But I may very well vlog and do a 24, 48-hour readathon for this and the next book, and just like binge them and enjoy them together. So let me know in the comments down below if you'd be keen to see a vlog for that, and I will try to deliver one for you. The next book is Realmbreaker by Victoria Aveyard. This is another birthday book. I didn't pick this up in May because I was intimidated by its size. It is very big, and I have also heard bad things from a trusted friend about this one, which I think I probably mentioned in my TBR video as well. I don't know, Victoria Aveyard, I am like loyal to reading her books, but like never blown away by them. So we'll see how this one goes. I don't know when I'll read this one. I will try and read it soon. I'm just really keen. I really like the cover for this. I like the premise. I like the promises of it. This was the one with the squire, the immortal, the assassin, the sorceress, the pirate's daughter, and the heroes all being gone. So I don't know, it sounds good to me. I'm going to try and love this. Okay, so the last few are from my remaining TBR from April. Ah, that's why the other pile seems so short. I had this buried underneath other things. So first we have the Brunswick Street Blues, which is a crime. I'm honestly less stressed if I get to this. This isn't my usual genre, but it was on my TBR and I want to give it a go, so that is something I'm still hoping to get around to. There is the Michael McIntyre's latest memoir, which is A Funny Life, and I can't believe I haven't read this yet. I'm expecting this to be a short read, and definitely something to read when I'm just looking for a good laugh. So maybe one weekend, one afternoon, I'm looking for some uplifting content, and I'm expecting that this will be it. And of course, it means my reread of Air of Fire is still on the cards, and I'm desperate to keep reading this series, and I know so many people are waiting for me to do so. So just like, honestly, I could unroll a list of people who are like, have you finished it yet? Because they want to discuss it with me, and have I finished it? No, I haven't. So most notably, I apologize to my dad, Chris, and Sarah. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. But yes, yeah, we're gonna reread it at some point. I'm hoping it'll be a quick read. I'm expecting it won't, but I'm gonna try. We're gonna go in with a positive attitude and hopefully come out feeling enthusiastic. We'll see. So that brings me on to review copies that are on my agenda as well, on my radar. I will let you know which ones I've requested, so which ones sort of take more priority than the other ones, and ones that I'm just generally quite interested to read, but I'm not really obliged to. So the first one is The Way From Here by Jane Cockram. I don't know what it is about this one. I haven't actually heard too much about it, but I'm quite excited to read it. This one involves like a bunch of letters that are received from beyond the grave that spark this whole like investigation of like family sort of thing. So like, I don't know, maybe a wholesome read, maybe not so wholesome. Unsure, but like smaller. I'm keen. The next one I do need to read for review relatively soon, and that's The Wearing of the Green by Claire Saxby. This one is Australian historical fiction set in Melbourne, and it is about the girl who comes from Ireland and arrives here and her family is not here, and then she's like, oh no, what am I gonna do? So yeah, tiny book. I'm expecting I can sit down over a weekend at some point and knock this off. I then have Forging Silver into Stars by Bridget Kemmerer. I got this, I actually won this. This isn't a review copy technically, but it is an advanced copy. This came out some point in May, so I had kind of wanted to keep up, you know, with everyone else with reading it, and that's just not quite happened. It's huge, but I'm really keen to continue the story with the character who is taking over the narration in this one. So again, I'm just going to bump this up and read this over the next, at some point over the next few months, because I want to. I then have How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Magamatsu. I've heard incredible things about this one. I have just, yeah, I'm so hyped about the reviews I've heard for this one, and I really want to read it myself. This was sent to me unsolicited from Bloomsbury, so it has well passed its publication date of in January, but I have not had time to pick it up since then, but I would really, really like to, so it is back on the agenda. The next one is another one that I think came out in like October last year, and that's Reprieve by Jane Han Madsen. This has like obviously a different cover. This is unfinished, as was the last one. This one is all about like a murder that happens in an escape room, and I'm just, I don't know, it sounds terrifying, but I'm so keen to read it. I then have The Unusual Abduction of Avery Conifer, which it was by Isla Evans. This came out in September of last year. It was for the Harlequin Book Club and I didn't get around to it. Whilst I no longer do that book club, I still think this sounds great. I'm always down for a story where we've got elderly people breaking out of like nursing homes or retirement homes. I just think that is a fun time, so I'm hoping that this will be funny, but I know that there are slightly more serious themes because it's how far they would go to protect a child, but I'm hoping that there's, you know, a silver lining and a brighter side to the book in amongst all of the darker themes as well. The next one I wasn't sure if I was going to read, but I've just heard so many people go on and on and on about how good it is, and that is Sister Stardust by Jane Green. So this one is set in Marrakesh, and it's about a wife following a husband who's doing some sort of job involving the oil industry there, and it's, I don't know, a bit of a mysterious sort of working out what's going on and a friendship. I don't know, just general fiction, I think, and it has been endorsed by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which sounds like that's promising good things. She is the author of Malibu Rising, so yeah, I don't know, just I'm curious to see what it is about this that has so many people loving it so much. The next one is one that was sent to me by Alan and Unwin, again unsolicited, but I love the sound of it and really want to read it. It's Esthers Children. This one is set during 1936, so World War II. It came out in May, so not too far gone. It's about like a rescue mission to help get Jewish academics and scientists out of danger and to safety, and that's quite a unique point of view that I haven't read about before, even though it is called Esthers Children, so I'm not quite sure how that's going to mix in with it, but I'm very, very keen to read this one. The next one is one that I've just got and is coming out in July, and I hope I can get to it around then, and it is The Brightest Star. This cover is stunning. I will overlay a picture of it there for you. I can't get over this. This is set in Italy in the Renaissance, and it is taglined as "It's a dangerous time to be a clever woman." I can't wait. I can't wait to read this. It's said to appeal to people who liked The Good Wife of Bath and The Dictionary of Lost Words, and I love both of those books, so I am super, super hyped to pick this one up. So thank you very much to Harlequin for sending me a copy of this. I am so looking forward to tucking into it. And the last one is Interned by Pamela Rushby. This is another one I do need to read for review in the near future, and this is about being German in Australia during World War II and being put in an internment camp because of the fears surrounding that and the prejudices that people hold. So that's everything that's on my radar. I've got a lot of books on my radar. Yeah, and as I said, I'm not expecting to get to all of these in June. This is very much so not an isolated TBR just for June. This is me saying I'm taking my foot off the TBRs to get through these books because, as you've just seen, there's a lot of books that are on my radar that I'm trying to simultaneously get through, as well as the TBRs that I'm picking, and I think I've just hit the tipping point where it's too much. And I finally had some sense knocked into me. So I'm going to just be pulling back until I feel like resuming again. So I don't know when I'm going to be doing another TBR jar, hopefully like not too far in the future because I love doing them. They will be being resumed in the future, for sure, but I do just need this time and space to clear up my reading and get on top of things and feel like I'm in a good place so that I'm not constantly chasing my tail. So let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these or if you're looking forward to reading them, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.
Alla gloria mia.